We're here today in Jackson Heights, Queens on 34th Avenue to look at one of New York City's great new public spaces. Our streets have not always been friendly to walking and biking and slow speeds and just neighborhood character. And something that really happened over the course of COVID is it forced us to rethink how we can use our streets as public space. As we walk along the street, you'll see a lot of different ways that we've been able to transform the street. And that's something that's been very important to us working with the community, is to make sure we bring the right treatments on the right blocks.
This updated design of the street really transforms the corridor into a 24/7 local access, slow speed street. Barricades are up during the day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We've designed the shared streets with chicanes, the diverter blocks, creating plaza blocks.
So we're here between 69th and 70th Streets, and we're looking at two of our main treatments on this block. So on this side in front of the school, we have one of our plaza blocks where we restrict motor vehicle traffic and can really create a fully protected, safe space for all the children. On this side, we have one of our shared blocks, which still accommodates the local access need, the parking lot for the bowling alley, some local on-street parking, but really designs it in a different way using delineators, planters, bike racks, so that traffic uses the street but only very slowly.
This 1.3-mile transformation of 34th Avenue really centers around schools. So thousands of students, 7 schools within one block of this corridor. The heart of this plan is creating robust, vibrant public spaces that are car-free for children to engage and play, more room for parents socializing at pick-up and drop-off time, more safe, traffic-calm streets for children and families walking to and from school. On our typical diverter block, which is a design that we developed very specifically along the 34th Avenue corridor to really enforce and transform the blocks along the corridor as local blocks and de-emphasize 34th Avenue as a through street. They also create additional added benefits, more pedestrian refuge space for pedestrians that are crossing 34th Avenue.
One of the things you'll see is that we have different color diverters. So you have yellow and white. We do that not because we like the aesthetics of it, but because they communicate different things to drivers. Yellow means that it's on the left side of a street. White means that it's on the right side. So it tells drivers that you want to be between the yellow and the white. These are visual cues, just like a double yellow line means something different than a white line. Similarly, we have these neck downs, and that's done in part to help shorten the crossing distance so that pedestrians can cross the street in a safer way. But just as importantly, these are designed to help slow turning vehicles, because one of the most dangerous activities that we see is the interaction between a turning vehicle and a pedestrian crossing the street.
So another role of the diverters is to also act as traffic calming for all of the north and south streets that cross 34th Avenue. As there are pedestrians moving east and west, we want to make sure that vehicles crossing the corridor also move slowly, move respectfully. It extends a little bit into the intersection, narrows the corridor just a bit to help create a visual cue for vehicles crossing over this corridor and encouraging them to move slowly.
For motor vehicles, we want it to be local access only, and we designed the street to reinforce that. So we have signs that say you turn left or turn right, but we also know that not everyone follows a sign just because you put it up. So we designed these diverters with these curved crosswalks and neck downs and other features so that it naturally points vehicles where we want them to go. So that the natural thing for a driver to do is to make those local access turns and not to drive straight down the corridor. And when you have things like planters, they serve a dual purpose. So they help beautify the street and help make 34th Avenue a great green open space. but they also are a visual obstacle so that people are not driving into this protected pedestrian space. It physically blocks access. You see that with granite blocks that people can sit on and use in different ways. We try to use these tools to make sure that the street functions correctly while still being a truly welcoming space.
The heart of the design of 34th Avenue is centering plazas and shared streets at all of the schools along the corridor. And so we have one of the shared street blocks. There are a couple different design treatments that we use to reinforce the shared nature of the street. The first is to sign the road 5 miles an hour, share the road. Another big treatment is to really transform the overall character of the street by adding gravel to the entire roadbed. So really changing the feel and the color of the roadway itself. So a huge element of our shared street designs are the chicanes, which you see behind me here. They are a way that we shape the roadway and narrow the travel path for vehicles. It reinforces slow speeds. It really causes the vehicles to kind of make an S and snake their way through the corridor at a slow speed.
My shield and portion me as long as
So we're standing here at the recently reconstructed and transformed Travers Park, which is an exciting project that reimagined the park space along with a plaza space we created on 78th Street with the community many years ago. And so it was really critical for us to think about the 34th Avenue piece as part of that larger kind of public realm core. We really had to think about how we can encourage pedestrians and cyclists to share the street safely. We wanted to both create gathering space for pedestrians, but also create a protected, clear bike lane through the block. So we've used a couple different tools. First, designing the bike lane in the bright green color that really creates a visual cue to pedestrians that this is a bike lane. We've also used our wave delineators here, which help create permeable yet clear delineation between the start of the bike lane and the pedestrian space.
One of the things that I want to point out here is even though this entrance looks narrow and is really designed to reinforce that motor vehicles shouldn't be driving here, it is actually wide enough between the blocks and the planters for a fire engine to come all the way down the street and keep going onto this plaza block. They may have to drive around a little bit to avoid the block, but we work with the fire department. They're able to do that in a very straightforward way. And that's a core principle of our design for this corridor. On the design side, we have a little model of the vehicle that we can sort of drive through the design. It has all the correct turning radii of the vehicle, so we make sure it works there. But then we also know that there's the real world, and we work closely with the fire department to make sure that they really can make all the turns. And if there's an issue, a block was placed a little bit too close, we move the block, we move the planter to make sure that that fire engine can make the turn.
Creating plaza blocks along the corridor really allowed us to add more pedestrian amenities, movable tables and chairs, these granite blocks, spaces for people to gather, to meet a friend, to community events, exercise classes, food distribution. So the plaza blocks also host the weekend farmers market on the block right here behind me. We shaped the bike lane so that we could ensure there was enough space for farmers and their tents, really a core community hub for the neighborhood, gathering for neighbors as well as dogs, who we see are a big user of the 34th Avenue open street.
We're standing here in a neighborhood loading zone. We're getting more and more residential deliveries, people ordering things on the internet, people getting picked up and dropped off in for-hire vehicles. And we haven't always created the space on the street for that to happen. So people double park, they block bike lanes, they block bus stops. Historically, loading zones have been something that we do on commercial streets, getting deliveries to major stores. But now we see we need to do them in neighborhoods as well. Even a personal vehicle that just needs to unload from the grocery store or something, we want to provide space at the curb where that can happen. And along 34th Avenue, we've done a large number of these neighborhood loading zones so that people have room to do that pickup and drop-off activity where trucks can load and unload. These neighborhood loading zones are in effect 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because that's when we really see the most truck loading activity happening on our streets. They still revert to regular residential neighborhood parking overnights and on weekends because that's used less for truck loading.
1, 2, 3.
We know that these treatments work well on 34th Avenue, but we also know that we're learning about how we can apply them elsewhere, and we hope that over the next several years we can both continue to build on what we're doing here on 34th Avenue, but also take this toolbox and bring it to more and more streets around the city.
We're really excited to see how this next level design of 34th Avenue evolves. We are going to be out on the street later this year, kind of gathering public feedback and engage with the community about how these designs are working, as well as how they want to continue to see the corridor grow and evolve.
3, 2,